What is good, everybody? Good evening to you, or good morning if you're catching this in the morning, or good noontime if you're grabbing some lunch and out and about in the great state of North Carolina, or wherever in this country you are. You're listening to InsideCarolina.com's The 40 Club, one of the many podcasts on IC, and we are thrilled to have two of Thrillington's only, the brothers Barth tonight. Joining me, as always, the man with the plan, the venerable Thomas Ashley Esquire. Tommy, how you living, man?
I'm doing well, man. We were talking off air about the fishing tournament that's going on this week. It's
Yeah.
kind of tough to be sitting at home and not down there, but maybe one day. We'll
Knowing
talk
the
about that a little bit later in this show. We might have a hookup one day, Joey.
knowing the boys at the Big Rock are catching marlin over 5 bills that are getting them $826,000 worth of change. That's not a bad life if you can get it. But Tommy, what do you say we kick this show off? You like that?
Yeah, you stole it, but I like it.
See what I did there?
Yeah, so as corny as well, we won't get that deep into bourbon already, but it's pretty corny. But people that are listening to this and Connor and Casey Barth are with us. I'm gonna steal Joey's lead. Um, we tried to talk to guys, former players, and the 40 Club, of course, is the 40-year decision that Mac preaches, as well he should. And then Joey's kicking version is the continuation of last week's show that I hosted with Dan Orner. But Joey, I will jump into the back seat and let you drive Mr. Daisy while we interview these two guys.
And to be honest, I wouldn't feel like I was doing my job if I didn't do some research. So, joining us, I will introduce the elder Connor Thomas first, and the younger Casey Daniels second. If you have spent any time along the coast of North Carolina, around Brunswick County, or what's a Brunswick, Pender, and what's the other one?
New Hanover.
New Hanover. God,
Yeah,
New Hanover's where y'all went to
Hanover. I was
school.
like, that's where we're
All over it, and I'm missing Hannah, New Hanover.
You
I
can
was-
show he's
was
not a
like-
beach person. He's not a beach person.
Dude, I could have dropped a loop
I
reference.
blanked on that one too.
No.
I could have dropped a loop reference. I could have been all over the map there, and instead, like, I would have dropped a Sloop Point, Hampstead, you name it.
Now
I
you're name dropping.
forgot New Hanover County. But anyway, Barth Brothers, Connor, how you living, man?
I'm doing well. We got a bunch of family in town this week from Buffalo, so it's awesome to get them down to the beach. And took them out on the boat today. Took them over to Mason's Inlet, showed them around a little bit to show how we live here at the beach. And I think they might want to stay for a lot longer than a week.
They definitely don't have Mason's Inlet up in Buffalo, I wouldn't think. Casey, how are you, buddy?
Doing well. Can't complain, just working. And like Connor said, have the family in town. So we all, we're all just getting together and it's great because we haven't seen those guys in a long time. But yeah, life is good, in Wilmington. So no complaints at all.
Well, I'm hoping Tommy and I haven't bitten off more than we can chew by bringing both of you on tonight because, while you guys are brothers, you had very different careers at Carolina. Both had amazing amounts of success. I won't start the fight of who has more records or who has more meaningful kicks. We'll get to that a little bit later. But I think the first thing I want to ask both of you is, was there, and I'll start with Connor again, being the oldest. Casey, I'm sure you're used to this by now, but Connor, when did you know you were going to come to Carolina?
Honestly, probably going into my senior year of high school. It's funny. It kind of goes back to Casey, but Coach Bill Dooley coached my brother's JV football team, which is crazy. I don't know if y'all
Small
knew
world. No, I didn't know that.
He coached Casey's JV football team, which is that's just the best thing ever. I mean, you know how intense the most intense practice
for a
ever.
JV squad. That's amazing.
Like stepping over guys' chests, just the old. But his son actually was my holder in high school, which is pretty cool. Sean Dooley. But then, I obviously going back to Dan Orner. I started working with him probably my sophomore year of high school. And he kind of always put it in my head, like, go to your in-state school. Coach Dooley was like, go to your in-state school. And a lot of people just said, hey, you should, stay in state and you play locally so your family can be close. And my dad's a big Notre Dame guy. He went to Notre Dame. So my dad's Notre Dame grad. So that was a school he was pushing. And unfortunately, they did not want to scholarship someone in my class. But at the end of the day, I think it was going to be between Ohio State and Carolina, and Mike Nugent was going to be a senior, so I would have had to redshirt. And then Coach Bunning told me that I could come in and start as a freshman. So I think that kind of made the decision pretty easy for me. I didn't want to redshirt. I wanted to come in immediately and play football. And so that kind of was that was kind of the final straw there, knowing I could come in and play immediately.
That's strong. And, I love the Dooley connection. I love and to bring it back to our episode that we did with Dan Orner, who also coached, Ruffer. I can't remember the kid's first name, but was also a Groza candidate and has worked extensively with you guys. I mean, I guess the kicking world just maybe is incestuous. I don't know. Casey, when did you decide you wanted to be a Tar Heel? And did you always know you wanted to follow Connor, or did you kind of have your own process? How did that work?
Yeah, it's a good question, because for me, I think, I didn't really have it in my head, that I wanted to go to Carolina. I think for me, just kind of seeing Connor and kind of what he did was so big just with my development and kicking in general. But, like he said, our dad went to Notre Dame. We weren't really raised as Carolina fans. So it wasn't quite as like, you got to go here. And funny story, with the Bill Dooley thing, it was great because, being a freshman in high school, right? And I tell my dad, who our coach is, and he goes, "What? It's Bill Dooley?" And I'm just like, "Yeah, who is this guy?" And he's like one of the best coaches ever, man. Come on. And so it was great, and just having that experience. But it was funny because my one of my top schools was the Air Force Academy, and I was very close to going there. And then Carolina just kind of kept an eye on me, kind of see how I did. And it just kind of worked out to where, I wanted to kind of stay in state, and Carolina seemed like a good fit. There was a possible, position open at kicker that I could compete for. And so it just kind of made sense, I think, for me. And it just worked out. I was lucky enough for it to work out.
I have to chime in here. I know the real reason he did not go to Air Force is because I was on the visit with him. He went into the dorm room, and one of the guys was like, "Don't come here, man."
Casey,
dude, I swear, we're only in the dorm room, Casey, and the guy was like making, you got to make your bed at you got to make your bed perfect at Air Force. And I think he was just like, "Don't come."
It was great. You get the official visit, and it was a cool place. And you go into the dorm room, and I meet a few of the guys, and they're just like, "Don't come here, man. Don't do it." Like, all right.
I mean, what kind of a recruiting? Who's recruiting here? That's terrible.
I don't
worst
think
pitch ever.
I don't think it was athletes. I think it was just kind of cadets, and they're just like, "Yeah, it's brutal, man."
Save yourself.
We had, in fact, the local high school here. I'm in Johnston County, so Clayton had a kid. Actually, Coach Fowler's son went to Air Force back probably around that same time, and then a kid last year went out there. So I wonder, is he getting that same treatment? I guess he probably is. But yeah, college is supposed to be fun, and that's a rough transition. Let me ask you something we asked Dan Orner, and the reason I had the connection with Orner is because he's teaching one of my buddies, my college roommates' son is in high school, and he's working with him, and he may have reached out to you guys too. We can talk about that later. But anyway, I asked him about being recruited as a kicker. And Connor, I'll start with you just to, how does that work? I mean, you always hear, Mac Brown prioritizes special teams, so he's going to scholarship somebody, but not every school does. Tell me a little bit about each of your recruiting processes, not, how you determine where you go to school, but when you start getting noticed, and how that figures out. Does everybody offer a scholarship? Do they not? I mean, how does that play into your thinking there?
Honestly, I got tons of letters, but never. I got letters from probably every college out there. I mean, Oregon. I mean, you name it. I mean, every college, and no one really made offers. A lot of times they want you to come into their camps and they want to see you in person. So a lot of times they're gonna, no matter if they, obviously when I was kicking, it was like I think we had to send in like VHS tapes. I literally think, yeah, because I was in high school from 2000, 2004. So I think it was my dad would have to, recruiting was a lot harder back then. Now it's like throw your stuff up on YouTube and everyone can see it. And back in the day, it was like you had to work. Like if your parents weren't helping and working for you, it was tough to get recruited. So my dad and my mom, they busted their butts, like getting tape out, because you had to literally, my dad would be up there in the stands filming on a legit, like, I guess, recorder. I don't know what do you video recorder, and
Big
with
giant tripod with the
yeah, I mean,
dual
big
reel.
camera.
He's doing like this in the
you know,
corner.
nowadays it's like, oh, iPhone, boom, you can knock it up and be uploaded in 2 seconds. But you know, that was the real deal back in the day. I mean, but a lot of times you get tons of letters, but they still want you to come to the camps and they want to see you in person, because you know they can watch you on tape as much as they want, but they really want to see you come in and just see the kind of person you are. So I think it's a little bit different from other positions where they want to really, really look at you, see your form and stuff like that. So I actually had to come into Carolina and compete. And actually, there's a great story. Ryan Suckup, obviously a good friend of mine who won the Super Bowl with the Buccaneers this year. He's from Hickory, and he's a year behind me. So my senior year of high school, I came up and kicked at the same camp with him. He was a junior in high school, and they just pretty much said to each one of us, whoever kicks better this day is going to get the scholarship. So it was either they were going to scholarship me that, or give me the scholarship that day, or they're going to wait a year and scholarship Ryan. And I outkicked them that day, and they ended up scholarshiping me and giving me the scholarship. And they brought me up into the office, and Coach Bunning offered me the scholarship. So that was pretty cool. So it's kind of a funny thing how that works. It could have gone to, if I didn't have it on that day, it could have been Ryan kicking at Chapel Hill, and he ended up going to South Carolina and having a great career.
Mm-hmm.
But just to kind of sum up the recruiting process, it was more like they really want to see you come in person and check you out and just kind of see mentally how you are and those kind of things. And the same thing with Ohio State. I had to go up there and compete and go and kick against other guys. They didn't want to just offer me a scholarship just from just watching my tape. They wanted me to come up in person. So I think that's how it is. I wish, obviously this is completely open. I wish I would have taken more visits just to like actually see other schools. I really only took my one visit really to Carolina. I think I went to Wake Forest as well. I wish I would have gone to like Oregon, Alabama, all these schools just to see what it was like to really enjoy that opportunity, because it's just really cool to be able to see how these other schools work. But at the end of the day, I'll never change. I mean, it was the best 4 years of my life at Chapel Hill. But I think that's kind of to sum it up. It's just they really want to see you in person. Tape can show you a little bit of stuff, but they really want to see how you are, talking to you, what kind of mental state you're in, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's funny. Orner was out, you want people's tape, and dudes are kicking 50-yarders, and then he's like, look at the flags. They're kicking that way. The wind's blowing 20. So Casey, how much did Connor's path help you in deciding, but also, you said, look, I can kick better than my brother, and he did pretty well for you guys. I mean, how does that work in your case?
Yeah.
I'm a Barth. I'm minted.
No, I mean, I tell people a lot of times, I think I had, almost like an unfair advantage just having Connor as a brother to, my dad would take us out kicking, and I just have this, beast who I'm trying to compete with at all times, kicking ahead of me. I'm just watching him trying to do everything he's doing, from 9th grade on. So, I always tell people like I had a guy that I was just trying to catch up with, for everything in every sport. So, I was just so lucky for that reason. And, having Dan around too, we'd go to the camps, and, my brother would work with Dan. I would just listen in, when I was young. And then when I got older, just try to, build on what they talked about, kind of see that, mimic, what they were doing. So it just helped so much. I was lucky for that reason, and it's hard for guys who don't have, I think, someone to kick with, or, don't have kind of that person they can go and talk to. So it's, it was huge for me. I mean, it's the only reason probably, I was, as good as I was.
Casey came in. He knew the whole football team when he came in his freshman year at college. He was over at one of the frat houses having a good time, and I was scared of my life when I walked into that locker room as an 18-year-old. I had no clue who these guys are. I got to look at Madison Hedgecock. That guy's massive. And then Casey knows like Chase Rice and Garrett Reynolds. He's just hanging out having a good time.
Hey. That was awesome.
I was like, come on. I was like, I walked in the locker room. I didn't know what to do. But Casey, he killed it. He broke he's the leading scorer, I think, in UNC history, I think.
Yeah, we'll get to the records. We'll discuss them. But Casey, with their and this is kind of a corny question, but I have, I've got one going to Carolina this fall. I've got one that's a rising junior. Was there competition with your older brother, or was it pressure to do what your older brother did? I mean, as a teenager coming up, how was that?
It's funny. I really never felt like I had to, live up to that standard or kind of, be better than Connor. I mean, my brother's always been great about, he's never, telling me, hey, you need to be better than me. My dad, my mom, they were never. I mean, we took a lot of visits, to different schools, and my dad would always tell me, hey, you can go wherever you want. Don't feel like you have to go to Carolina. Don't feel like you have to, be better than Connor or beat Connor. And I think that really helped me in my college years. Just I never really kind of had that in my head to where I had to be better than him or, be better than a certain person. I was just kind of let me just do my thing and we'll see how it goes and end up going all right.
That's
So
awesome.
I got to ask, I mean, and I know I appreciate the perspective of being the second brother there because I'm an oldest of two kids. So it's good to hear what the young, what the younger thought. I want to ask you guys about your experience with coaching staffs. Connor mentioned being brought in under Coach Bunning. Casey, you obviously came after the change to Coach Davis. I'm assuming you guys are still probably communicate with both of those coaches, but Connor, I'll go to you first. What was it like? What was the difference in your experience with Coach Bunning and then Coach Davis? And then Casey, obviously, I'd love to hear your thoughts about Coach Davis as well, and kind of what you saw from being a youngster watching your brother and then transition.
No, this is actually no. I mean, Coach Bunning is. I mean, he to this day is one of my best friends. I mean, he's just fantastic. He lived obviously, he lived up in Topsail for a while in the Hampstead area, and just hate that he's not here anymore. He's down in Naples, but obviously he brought me in, and he just. I mean, he played at Chapel Hill, so he bled Carolina blue. It was just different.
Yeah.
It was different. He truly cared about the university, and he wanted the best for each one of us and that kind of thing. And I think I love that because he just taught me so much as a person. I mean, he's taught me just, I wouldn't be where I am today outside of football without Coach Bunning. I mean, he taught me so many things. Obviously he stressed so much about football, but he was really big about, off the field stuff. And, like you said, the whole, you're only playing football, football only lasts for so long. And he was very, very big about that. And I think the difference between him and then you got Coach Davis, who obviously now that I've played, I played 10 years in the NFL, Coach Davis ran it. It was an NFL program. I mean, that's just the way it was. It was just completely different, just a lot more cutthroat and just, it was just no nonsense. And that's what it was. And I think with Coach Bunning, he had a little more slack with guys and, I don't know if he was able to hire I think he might have hiring wise, I don't know the kind of leeway he had with hiring coaches and things like that. But I mean, there was just the difference. You got a coach who played at Carolina and bled the colors his entire life. And then you got a coach like Coach Davis, who obviously has an NFL background, who ran it strictly like an NFL program. I mean, I think he was putting like things in guys' lockers, like, hey, you're gone.
Wow.
I mean, I think he put like the old slips in there, like, hey, you're no longer here anymore. And I was kicking pretty good. So I was like, I don't know one of those, but you just never know. I mean, it was, Coach Bunning kind of treated, whether you were a star or a walk-on, he treated you the same. You were a Carolina football player. You went to school at Carolina. Like, he treated you, which I loved. When I was there with Coach Davis, you saw a lot of these walk-on guys, like, holy smokes, like their eyes were open when Coach Davis came in. It was, hey, like, your walk-ons are not the same as scholarship guys. I hate to say that because I have a ton of friends that are walk-on guys and are great guys. But yeah. Coach Bunning was different. He saw he was complete family, and that's important to me. And no disrespect to Coach Davis, I'm super super close to him as well. But he just ran it completely different. Like, he took care of his scholarship guys, and I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm sure Saban does the same thing, and all these guys. But Coach Bunning was just. It was different. He treated every single person the same. We were a huge family, which was, I thought, kind of makes me the person that I am. And I had him obviously most of my career.
Casey, I'm going to reframe this question a little bit for you. Seeing what Connor saw and kind of that closeness with Coach Bunning and how he preached, did it change your college experience at all when you came in under Butch Davis? Did you feel like maybe things were different than what you expected, or did you kind of just acclimate and move on and college was college?
Yeah, it didn't really change things for me. I think Connor did a good job of, he didn't really kind of say, hey, this is what you should expect when you get there, or, you should have these expectations. So I kind of just went in it with an open mind and, make friends and just kind of see how it went. And I mean, Coach Davis was great with me. I mean, I think, having Connor there, his senior, his first year, Connor senior year, he kind of, all right, you're a Barth, you might have some ability in you. So we'll see how you do. And, once I started doing well and kind of proving to him that I could be consistent, we built a great relationship. I mean, he's one of those guys you can text out of the blue and he's just like, yeah, how are you? How's your family? Miss you. And he's just a player's coach. I mean, he takes care of his guys, and it was a great experience with him for sure.
So I want to ask you guys one more question, then we'll let Tommy take us to a break. And then after the break, we'll get to the real fun stuff. I want to ask each one of you guys, what was your favorite memory of UNC? And I want to keep it off the field. Okay,
Oh.
let's talk about just your most.
Yeah.
Well, it's
All right.
keep
I'm
that
gonna
within
click on
reason.
this.
Yeah, let's keep
The
that within
YouTube
reason.
version not safe for kids. Go ahead.
Yeah, let's just share with us what's your favorite memory of non-game memory. Put it that way. It can be on the field, but just a non-game memory of your time in Chapel Hill in the Carolina blue uniform. Casey, I'll let you do the honors as the youngest.
I think for me, one of the coolest things, off the field was, I think we won the national championship in basketball 2009. So being able to kind of storm Franklin Street with everyone and doing that was just, I mean, something I, never experienced. And that was really cool. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people would say the same thing, but, kind of playing football and being on the football field, but then kind of getting involved with that and being on Franklin Street with just, all the thousands of people and just all that ruckus. It was awesome. I'll never forget it.
All right, Connor, same question.
I'd have to say, I don't want to toot my own horn here, but after the UNC Miami game, after I hit the game winner, it was Halloween weekend. So
Yes, sir.
that was my freshman year, so I've never experienced Halloween in Chapel Hill. So I've heard like, oh, there's like they barricade down Franklin Street and there's like 50,000 people and I've never, I mean, it was, obviously after a big win like that, it was the craziest thing I've ever experienced. I'm 18 years, I had no idea what to expect, but then you see people that were dressed up like you. There were people dressed up like me. And I'm just like, wait, hold on, what's going on here? And, I had a few girls come up and say hi, and I can't go to the extent of that,
That's a gentleman never tells. I got
Gentleman
you.
never tells, but no, it's just, that was I've heard stories about Chapel Hill and Halloween, and it was it lived up to every expectation. It was the craziest night.
That's a hell of a first Halloween in
was,
Chapel Hill, man.
I don't know if they were the next three were awesome, but that one just, obviously being a freshman in college and just coming from Wilmington, which is we're not a huge town, and just experiencing that many people in one place, just all kinds of crazy costumes and all that stuff. And then obviously seeing a few people that have your jersey on that have long hair, and you're just like, huh, this is weird. And then you forget, you're like, oh, we had a big win the night before. So that was, so you're like, oh, okay, I get it now. That's pretty cool.
Man, that's epic. Let's we got to talk more about 2004 after the break, but let me take a second and talk about Johnny T-shirt, johnnytshirt.com. You could get that jersey he's talking about. You can find one with Connor Barth's name and number on it, but I got mine from somewhere else. I got mine from China. But anyway, Johnny T-shirt, johnnytshirt.com. They deliver straight to your door, or you can go to anywhere and order it online, or you can go on Franklin Street. Like Connor talked about, Franklin Street gets pretty wild at times. But Johnny T-shirt's always there to service you for your needs. Support them. They support us. Inside Carolina Premium subscribers, of course, get 10% off their daily order. And that 10% will help out if you're a college student going to Carolina and you need some swag. Football season's around the corner. Baseball season just ended, and basketball season with Coach Hubert Davis will be here before we know it. Joey, I'll let you handle the rest and then take us to it.
I got an idea. Hang on. I got an idea. With the 10% you save from your Inside Carolina Premium subscriber discount at Johnny T-shirt, you know what you can do with that 10%? Turn around and spend it at Jimmy's Famous Seafood. Go to jimmysfamousseafood.com. How you like that for a segue, boys?
It was better than mine, I can tell you that.
Go to jimmysfamousseafood.com. But you say, but Joey, I can't go to Baltimore right now and get the best crab cakes in the history of the world. Nay, nay, you would be incorrect because Jimmy's can come to you. They have the most amazing, quickest shipping of their products. I'm a huge fan. I know our boy Taylor Viplis is a big fan of their Jimmy's Famous sampler box. I just go straight for the colossal crab cakes, and they are enough to absolutely not only satiate your palate but change your world. Jimmy'sFamousSeafood.com. If you use the code GDTBATH, hashtag great day to be a Tar Heel, GDTBATH, you will get a nice little savings on your shipping. Again, they pack it to you cold, send it to you 2 day. You'll have it in your oven, and you'll be eating like a champ. Some of Balmer's best if you go to jimmy'sfamousseafood.com. So we appreciate both Johnny T and Jimmy's Famous for their support of this and all of Inside Carolina stuff. We're going to take a quick break and let some of the national guys get their stuff in here. Their ads will not be as good as ours, but we're going to let them run them anyway. We'll be right back with Connor and Casey Barth kicking it in the 40 Club. Hang tight.
All right, boys, we're back. I'm going to steal it because I told you couldn't have 2004, Joey. I'm sorry. I got to pull rank.
Tommy's mad because I snatched a really good memory from him a while back, and he hadn't let me forget it. So I'm going to sit back and let him
In
drive.
fairness, we had Orner on. And what am I going to ask Orner on about?
About his kicking school.
You talking about the Duke kick where he took down that's the most legendary thing I've ever like. If Barstool's around then and all that, it would have been
it would have broken the internet.
Oh my God. I mean, he literally didn't he like run in there and just tear the whole thing down and deflate the whole entire.
It ended up tearing it down, but he also told the story that he ran in there and didn't realize it was as hard and pumped up as much as it was, and damn near killed himself when he hit the
think
wall.
he said. I think the quote from the show was the helmet fought back, right?
So he was walking with a crick in his neck for a while.
Oh,
we're back on Kicking It with the 40 Club. This is Tommy Ashley, that's Joey Powell, Casey Barth, and Connor Barth. I'll get y'all's names right eventually. Let me ask you a question. See, y'all got me started, and people that watch this YouTube understand that when the glass goes empty, it gets interesting. So anyway, we'll talk about that later. 2004, Connor, you're a freshman. You mentioned it. Let me set the stage for you. This is from the stands. All right. We're at the game. There was a lot of Miami people in that stadium.
They were loud too. Like they were feeling themselves.
And a lot of people have had problems with Miami folks, but I've never had a problem with them. And they were sitting all around us. And they were your traditional big dookie chain Miami guys. And it stayed close. And Chad Scott was going nuts and Durant was going nuts. And I walked across the aisle and I was like, Carolina could win this, right? And they're like, no, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And then it happens. You're like, they're setting up for your field goal. So I'm sitting down. I run down the thing and stand on the fence. Right. When you used to be able to go down there, that's one bad thing about the turf. You can't get close. And we're standing there. And of course, we're screaming at them. We're laughing. And I still worked for Inside Carolina at the time, but I was a fan that night. And we're screaming like, y'all about to lose Carolina and all this stuff. And the Miami guys are talking junk. You kick it. I literally almost had to hurdle Devin Hester because he's the one that almost got a piece of it. And then watch the goalpost come down and all that stuff. Dude gets tased trying to take the goalpost out of the stands.
Fantastic. I didn't know that.
It was
Wait! You didn't know that a dude got tased while people were tearing down the goalpost?
That's terrible. How would they do that? Guys
Look,
are trying to have a good time, man.
They told
a
the
lot
guy.
happened in that melee.
I was right there, right? So the goalpost comes down. I'm too old to be out there at the time. It almost hits us. They tear it apart. Dudes are trying to carry it out. The policeman told the guy to drop it, and
multiple times.
My history is just, do what they say and we'll figure it out later. Dude didn't do what they said, and they threatened to tase him, and bad things happened. But anyway, let's go back to leading up to that. Orner said, and this is one of the coolest things that Orner talked about when he was on our podcast. He said he wanted to be like a New York firefighter. He wanted to run to the action, and he wanted his kickers to run to the action. Where is the mindset of a freshman kicker coming down, because y'all had a rough season. I mean, you got waxed the week before, and now you're about to set up to kick a field goal, I believe, to beat number 4 Miami. I think they were number 4 at the time.
Yeah, I think so.
Tell me what's going through your head.
Honestly, I'm gonna be honest, not a lot. You're just kind of in the moment as a freshman. You're just like, well, first off, you guys are all standing around the hedges. If I would have missed it, God knows, I wouldn't even have let out of there. I had to make it. I think there was hardly people on the field. They were just kind of behind the.
This would have been a largely different podcast.
Yeah, it would have been. Yeah, but people don't remember. Like, that's what I love about this. They always say, like, you're only remembered for your last kick. No one remembers that I missed like a 35-yarder earlier in the game. No
I don't even remember that.
I bet your brother remembers.
That's what I love, because you're only as good as your last kick. It's amazing. All my buddies, I still talk to them this day. I'm like, y'all know that I like completely shanked one earlier in the game. They're like, really?
I don't remember that.
Chacos was down here the other night for dinner with Casey and I and Rockwell's, and I was like, I absolutely hooked one left. He's like, I had no idea, man. And that's the best part. So like, so I was actually a little, I really said this, but I was actually a little nervous because I kind of I did not have a good kick in the beginning of the game. So I was like, you know what? I really got to just work on my mechanics here and just take a deep breath and just trust in, Casey and I always talk, just trust just think it's like practice. Go out there and you've done this a million times. It's 42 yards. It's not a long kick. I always say kicking's super easy. Just put it between those two posts.
But you didn't, I'm sorry to step on Tommy here, but you didn't, I mean, did you feel the weight of that kick before you went out?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I never really, I've never really said this, but I was nervous because, like I said, I hadn't kicked really well that game. So I was like, I need to really step it up here. And obviously I knew if I make this kick, it could really change my life and my career, maybe put me on the map to possibly maybe play in the NFL one day. And I remember Coach Powell told me, our special teams coach, he comes up to me and goes at our little timeout and he goes, "Hey man," I was like, "Hey, what's up, coach?" He goes, "Don't eat yellow snow." And I'm just, I had no clue what he was talking about. I don't even think it registered to me until after I made the kick. And after the game, he's like, it worked. And, I had no idea. Like, you're just like, "Don't eat yellow snow." I'm like, all right. So I just went out there and lined up. And honestly, it wasn't, if you look at the trajectory, it wasn't like I'm pretty critical of my kicks. It wasn't the prettiest kick, but hey, it went through. And it was one of those nights where I can still smell the liquor. I can still smell it from
that's Tommy. That's not
just coming through.
I can still smell like just the atmosphere on the field. Like after I can still. It's really like it feels like yesterday. Obviously, it's been a long time, but I can still just. That was one of the. That was a crazy night, and like I said, there was already guys. I think there was already fans pretty much on the field. It was pretty much I better make the kick, or I don't know what.
Well, I can tell you, Hester was still face down, so it was pretty dang going quick after there.
And I always say, like, not to make it easier than it was, but the game was tied, so it's like, all right, worst case scenario, I miss it, we go into overtime, and maybe I get another chance. So obviously, it was still a lot of pressure, but it's one of those
pretty strong hedge to have.
At least it wasn't, at least we weren't down by 1 or 2 where it's like, all right, if I do miss it, that game is over, which I experienced that for my last kickover in Chicago. And that was my last kickover in Chicago. So, but yeah, at least the game was tied. So I always say, like, you know what? It was hard, but it was like, all right, it was tied. Like worst case scenario, we go into overtime. Man,
serious question. Are you thinking about it? It's tied. If I screw this up, we're still got overtime.
Yeah. I mean, I just try to keep it as lighthearted as possible. They're always like, "Oh, you're from the Peach surfer mentality." And I'm just like, no, it's just like, at the end of the day, I had Greg Warren snapping, who snapped 14, 15 years in the NFL.
He's still snapping for the Steelers.
Yeah, he's still snapping. Like, and then Jared Hall obviously was a phenomenal holder for me. So I knew like they were going to get it there, and they were going to do a great job getting everything set up for me. And my whole thing was just make sure we just executed. We did, and it was so I mean, like it was in the back of my mind, like, hey, we're tied. So worst case scenario, maybe I get a chance if I do miss it that I'll redeem myself. But I was able to knock it through that time, which was important to me, and obviously completely changed my life forever. Because I think that was the kick that really put myself on the map for my career that I had down the road.
Yeah, I've got a picture that our photographer. I believe Jim Hawkins took at the time. I still got to get that signed by you one day. It's a pretty epic picture. Casey, you're not getting away on it. So flash forward 6 years. Speaking of smelling the liquor, you probably smelled it from all the bottles that came.
He probably had a
flying on the
bottle stuck in
field.
his ear hole after that game.
The old keep your helmet on game. Do not take your helmet off on any occasion. Tell me about the end of the Tennessee game. I mean, Music City Bowl. We had TJ Yates on some time ago.
Well, so if you hadn't heard, I just did a throwback about that game with Sean Drone and Mike Ingersoll and Greg Barnes. And I will say, Casey, Mike Ingersoll made the comment during that episode. He said, "We had Casey Barth. You know, a lot of teams talk about not leaving it up to your kicker." He said, "We as a team absolutely wanted to leave it up to our kicker because we had that much confidence in him." So he set you up really nicely.
No, he's too kind. No, I mean that game was insane. You know, I think everyone can remember just how nuts it was the way it ended. I mean, we couldn't even believe. It was unbelievable. It's funny. You look at the end of the game, and I honestly I was still swinging my leg, just taking some practice kicks, and everyone's like, "The game's over." I don't know. I was just kind of like, maybe, I don't know. Maybe it's not. Maybe they'll call. I just want to be ready, no matter what. And of course, they're like, "Actually, we're going to bring you back out for a field goal." And I was just like, "All right, well, let's do this." And just kind of went out there and just like Connor said, I mean, you can't overthink it. I mean, you just got to make good contact on the ball. I mean, it's not a long kick. I think that game tying one was like a 35, 37 yarder. So it wasn't, you just got to trust yourself and just have a smooth swing. And, it ended up going in and tie the game. And it was just a surreal feeling. I think that one was even more crazy than the game winning field goal, just because the stadium just got silent. I think everyone was just bewildered at what happened by the game ending, coming back, and then, us tying it up. It was, get a couple bottles thrown at us. It was awesome. It was fun.
Buck Sanders talks about, of course, the president of Inside Carolina talks about being on the field. I guess he was down there with Greg Barnes.
Yeah.
And looking up and seeing just the tidal wave of every kind of liquor bottle, every kind of beer bottle you can imagine.
Ingersoll talks about spit cups. He said,
Ingersoll is brutal.
He said he caught a spit cup on his shoulder. So, yeah.
But I mean, so tell me this, and this is a kicker thing. You got a timeout to set up versus not having a timeout to set up. How is that? Because they always talk about, and this is something I wanted to ask you both, icing the kicker.
Yeah. Do you want the timeout or not?
You want to go?
Go, Casey. I'll let you.
What do you think, Connor? I mean, honestly, I don't think it matters really. I think it just depends on the type of person you are.
I'm a big believer in don't call a timeout. I think you just let it play out. I think that if you're a good kicker and you have a good head on your shoulders and you're mentally tough, you get almost a lot of times your coach always says, all right, when they call a timeout, still swing through and kick the ball and get a practice swinging, right? So I think a lot of times when you do get that extra, a little time to kind of take a step back and just kind of reset and let your heart rate come down a little bit, I think it's better. So for me, if I'm a coach, I'm not calling a timeout because it's almost in the back of the head, like a kicker's probably thinking he's probably going to call a timeout, but then you don't. So it's almost like you kind of plays tricks with them. So for me, I wouldn't call a timeout. I think it helps. I think it only helps the kicker if he's obviously a decent kicker. Like get your heart rate down and kind of take that back, you practice swings and go out and execute. So for me, I would just let the game play.
That's so I've had that debate with my teenager. He always says don't kick the ice. So don't kick the timeout field goal. But I've always said leave one in your pocket because of what you just said. They might be thinking, hey, are they going to call it? Or are they not going to call it? And so it's interesting to hear. And NFL kickers talk about that. So I'll tell him that I was right. So
remember that was I think the kicker for Kansas City got iced like 4 times. And I think he made like 358 yards in a row. Buckner, he's insane.
That dude's ridiculous.
I just think that I've always just said let the game play out because a lot of times the kicker is just going to be thinking, are they going to call a timeout? Are they not going to call a timeout? And it's like, so maybe, so he's kind of thinking in the back of his head, like, and it never came and he went and kicked and maybe it threw him off a little bit, but that'd be my.
So Casey, do you kick the ice? When I say that, do you kick it when they call a timeout? Do you follow through or do you just stand there?
I do follow through. I won't kick the ball, but I'll just give a good air swing just to get a feel for being out the field and in that moment. I think that's always huge, just kind of feeling everything, like feeling the people right in front of you, getting a good practice swing in.
That's interesting. I'm going to tell him I won that debate. There's not too many debates you can win with a teenager. I won that
I
one.
can imagine.
Yeah. So, and Joey, let me get one more in, and let's sort of, are those the two biggest on the field memories for you for Carolina? Casey, I'll start with you. Is that your biggest, or are there others? I mean, you obviously, not to slight your brother, but I believe you might hold all the records.
Oh, don't act like they don't talk about this every time they get together for beer.
What's cool is that we don't talk a ton about, like, it's
Yeah.
we don't talk a ton about it. It's like we have, like, it's been cool just hearing about how him coming up after me through high school and stuff. It's kind of cool. We don't even talk a ton about it, so it's awesome.
So is he saying that because he doesn't have them? And you got them? Or?
I think I still got 19 in a row, though. I think that's
he doesn't. And he played in the NFL, so that's pretty good.
No, man, I'm like so proud of my brother. Like, every time I ever give like a speech or go to do some kind of go talk to some kids or anything like that, or go speak to any audience, I'm always, man, Casey like doesn't get enough credit, man. He had a heck of a career, man. And I was so excited that I got to be there when he actually broke the record. It was my bye week in the NFL, so I was actually able.
I remember that
when he got. I think I don't know how many he's got in his career. I think it's high 60s, but I was able to be there, which was super cool. I just happened to be my bye week, and I could actually go out there and congratulate him. And every day, man, I get super emotional about it. But man, he wasn't, he didn't have the leg strength that I had and some of the gifts that I had. But like he went out there and just did his thing, and I'm super proud of him. So,
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, I will say the younger was every bit as timely, if not more, just based on his career stats. So since Tommy got sucked up into the ether there, I want to ask a question. We just got done talking about what a fraternity. Well, Tommy kind of got into it, but I want to kind of close the loop about what a fraternity kickers are. I mean, you guys are a rare breed. You guys are kind of one of a kind. So naturally, you're going to be the only kind of guys that really feel for the kickers on TV. You talked about Harrison Butker and how good that dude is. I want to ask a little bit of an offshoot question of that. And I'll start with Connor this time. What is the most painful kick you've ever seen someone miss on TV, to where you were just like, you knew exactly what he was going through, you knew exactly what that felt like? What's the most painful kick you've seen someone else miss, and what were your thoughts when it happened?
Man, probably I hated to say it, but he kind of like made my name go bye-bye in Chicago. But
that was a couple of years ago.
Was it the double doink in the
doink
NFC Championship? I mean, that's just tough. It's man, he's such a good kicker, and I for sure thought he was making it. And obviously Mitch was having a great year and all that. And
that's Cody Parkey, by the way.
He's a good buddy of mine. I mean, I saw him at a wedding a couple years ago right before COVID, and he's back in Cleveland having a great career. And so that was a tough one. I mean, obviously, because I was pulling. I'm fresh off being out of Chicago, still pulling for a lot of the guys. Mitch is on the team and stuff like that. So I was just like, man, they're gonna, this is awesome. They're gonna make a run. They're gonna get into the Super Bowl and all that. And that happened. So that was probably the tough. I mean, I knew he couldn't even fly home I think he had to drive home. He couldn't even go to the airport. I mean, it's just like, it's brutal. I mean, there's some fans, and there's Bears. I mean, you got to love them. Bears fan. I mean, Chicago fans are the best. You got to love them. But man, are they, do they love their sports, and do they like to oh man, it's tough. I've never seen so many middle fingers at me before. But yeah, when I saw that, I was just like, that guy is not even gonna be able to walk out of the stadium. I mean, the Barstool videos.
Yeah. It's the scapegoating of kickers is
I was like,
unreal.
You know what? I was like, Cody, I appreciate it. No one even knows my name anymore in Chicago. And
Connor can actually finally go back to a Cubs game if he wants to.
I can go back to a Cubs game. No one knows. And the people are like, oh, you weren't that bad. Because, it's like, so it's like, hey, Cody, man, thank you. He's still a good buddy of mine. He's still killing it in the NFL, and super props to him for coming back and continuing to kick butt. But that was a tough miss.
Casey, same question. What's I know you one time did you had a pretty good interview for, I think it may have been the Wilmington Star, but was it Blair Walsh's miss for the Vikings a few years back? But
Yeah.
what would have been your most painful missed kick that you've seen? Either as a player or as a spectator.
Yeah, I think back to one of the kicks that really kind of, I felt it a whole lot was against Florida State when Dustin Hopkins missed the game winner to beat us. I mean, that game was just crazy, right? I hit a few field goals and they marched down and he just pushed it right. And, I mean, that guy, he's unbelievable, and even at that time, I mean, I knew how good he was. And it was just like, I was so happy we won, but at the same time, you could just, I just felt so much for him. Like 9 times out of 10, that guy makes the kick, and it was just so hard because, if you haven't been in that situation, you'll probably be there. And so it was hard. I remember sending him a Facebook message after, and I don't even know if he read it, but just kind of be like, hey man, don't even I know you're not going to worry about it because you're an insane kicker. You're going to do big things. And I think it was the next week he hit like a 55-yard game winner against Clemson or something crazy. And so it was one of those kicks. You're just like, God, man, that's so brutal. But I mean, he bounced back and he's obviously doing big things now.
Yeah, man. That's I appreciate y'all's perspective on that, because I think that's one thing where just the bond that you guys all have playing that position, you understand how many people's lives proverbially live and die on a kick. So I'm gonna let you each brag on each other for a little bit. And I don't want to do the same thing we did when Tommy asked about the Miami and the Tennessee games. But Casey, I'll go for you first. What's your best memory of your brother playing for UNC?
It's a tough one. I mean, there were so many cool moments. I think for me, just overall, just being able to be there and going down on the field and kind of like sharing those moments with him just in a college stadium, I think was so cool. I mean, we're 2 kids growing up playing every sport, and Connor was always good at like every sport, and I think just kind of, understanding what that felt like being down on the field with him and just seeing how good he was and just, that's my older brother. Like, that's pretty cool, So, I mean, I think just honestly, just being at games with him and be able to kind of tell people that's my brother, it was just the coolest feeling.
We're still figuring out our golf game. We haven't quite we each haven't figured
That's never going to happen for me.
Connor, you kind of tapped into it a little bit a second ago, but talked about bragging on Casey so much, so I'll give you some space to do that a little more.
I think for me, it's not even really about any kicks he made. It was the fact that he wasn't really guaranteed a scholarship coming in. He had to kind of earn his way, and he had to beat out, I think it was Jay Wooten, who was a pretty good kicker, ended up kicking down in South Carolina. I mean, he had to come in and he had to prove himself. I mean, Coach Davis wasn't like, he kind of said there's just going to be a scholarship for you, but Casey had to pretty much win. If Casey didn't win the starting job, he probably wasn't going to ever get a scholarship. And so for me, it was just to see how much work he put in and never gave up and kept fighting, and finally won that starting job, and actually see him go out there and be the starting kicker after me. And it was one of the most special things. I wish I could have been there. Obviously, I was playing in the NFL, but just to know when I got the call just saying that he was getting the starting job was pretty amazing. So it wasn't any kick. It was just how hard he fought, and just the kind of that's a lot of pressure. I mean, it's pretty much like, Coach Davis doesn't want to say it, but he's like, hey man, if you don't get the starting job, you're pretty much not out there, and proved everybody wrong. And I'm sure no one thought he would, and he went out there and just had an unbelievable career, and super proud of him. And I mean, like I said, but and then obviously when I was there, for him to see him kick that field goal to have the most in the career was pretty cool, and just be able to celebrate with the whole family.
So we'll get into something a little bit, and I know we'll drag you guys. I could talk forever, I freely admit, and I know the people listening or watching this could listen and watch forever. But let's talk about transitioning from, high school to college is, it's a pretty clear jump. What's the difference from college to the NFL? Because both of you had storied careers in college, but Connor, you were the guy that played for a long time in the NFL. I mean, is it opportunity? Is it measurables? What is it that makes the difference there?
I'm gonna be honest. A lot of it is just a lot of it's timing and luck. Part of it. I mean, obviously you have to have the ability, but it's got to be, you got to fit in, you got to fit in the right organization, have the right coach, have the right GM. But yeah, I mean, that's the biggest thing for me, is just a lot of it is luck. I mean, I tell people today, I would never have made it in the NFL now. I mean, the way how strong these guys are, these kickers are 6'4", 220 pounds kicking the ball. I mean,
fire hydrant looking
I'm
dude
seeing
trotting
guys,
out on
I
the
mean,
field.
literally, these guys kick 60 yards like it's 65 yards like it's nothing. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous nowadays. I mean, I am struggling from 55. You know, it's because I'm an old school guy. It's more like, you know, when I came out in 08 to go to the NFL with Kansas City, it was like, all right, 50 and in, 55 and in, be money. And that was kind of my thing. I mean, could I hit a 60-yarder? Yes, but a lot of times you're not going to do that. And then the other big thing I think obviously is the biggest is you're now providing for your family. You're not, this isn't college where it's just like, hey, you're hanging out with your buddies and you're on scholarship. Like, you know, mom and dad are helping out a little bit. Now it's like, hey, you're out of college, you're on your own. If you don't make this kick, you're not making any money. How are you going to provide for your family and stuff like that? So I think that's the biggest thing. It puts about 60,000 pounds of more pressure on your body just because it's, you know, you're not like, it's not just, hey, I'm out hanging out with my buddies now playing football in college and high school. It's, hey, like, you know, I got to do this for a career. What am I going to do? Obviously, Chapel Hill sets us up for a lot of great things besides football, but, you know, you want to be successful in that. And I think the biggest thing is it's timing, some luck, and then it's obviously, hey, this is a real job now. Like, if you miss, you're gone, and you might only get one shot. And that's why I love Tom Brady. He always talks about, like, when he got that shot, he never let anyone take him off the field ever again. He wasn't going to allow that. And I think that's the coolest thing is if Drew Bledsoe never gets hurt, who knows if Tom Brady ever, you know, really has the career he has. And he took advantage of it. So I think it's just like taking advantage of your opportunities. And then it's just, hey, you're providing for your family. That's a totally different thing now. You're making money and, you know, college is fun and all, but this is a whole different ballgame.
It's a little bit different pressure for sure. Casey, talk about that transition and the attempt of transition for you. I mean, I think if you make kicks, you should be able to make money, but it doesn't always work that way.
Yeah, you know, it's hard. I think, like Connor said, I mean, a lot of it is just timing, and, you know, obviously you got to have the ability. I think for me, kind of the stigma I had coming out was, you know, can he kick the long field goals consistently? Because a lot of my career at Carolina, I didn't have many, you know, very far field goals. So I think that was in the back of the minds of a lot of special teams coaches. And, you know, when I was in Atlanta for the rookie mini camp, you know, we kicked some, you know, really long field goals, and I made a few, I missed a few. And I think that probably just kind of put a little bit of doubt in their mind that, you know, I could really, you know, hang in the NFL, even though, you know, didn't get a chance at preseason. But, you know, it's like Connor said, I mean, a lot of it is just, it's so mental when you get to that level. I mean, you know, you're having a great time in college, you know, you're with your friends. If you lose a game, you can go hang out with your buddies afterwards and you can play, you know, go to practice next week. It's just so much different. I think the amount of pressure you put on yourself, you know, when you get cut by a team, I mean, how good am I? Am I even any good? You know, I mean, just that little bit of doubt creeps into your mind and can crumble you, I think, very quickly. And then you just sitting around waiting, right? We're waiting for a call. Am I any good still? Am I good enough to play? I mean, it's just, I think, like Connor said, it's just so mental, and it's just 60,000 more pounds of pressure on yourself. And it's just it's just a different type of game.
Yeah, and there's only 32 jobs in the league.
Right.
What? And this is, I don't want to get too negative deep, but I'm curious because it's obviously nothing that 99% of the people listening to this have experienced. Connor, what's it like to get released and cut from a pro team? I mean, what's it like?
I mean, it's tough. I mean, I've been unfortunately cut and released a lot, and so I know. I always joke with people, only 90, like, I think most people just see the 99 or the 1% of the NFL that like sign these monster contracts and have these awesome careers, have, you know, big houses, all the cool cars, where it's like 99% of us are like fighting every day just to make the active roster and you know, and have some guaranteed contracts. But it's tough. I mean, I remember I got cut from Miami after going like 94% in training camp. I don't know how you do much better than that. I mean, I think
what else am I supposed to do?
Like, you know, Dan Carpenter is very good. He was there, but I will, to this day, I outkicked him. But I've quickly learned as a young guy in the NFL, it does not matter sometimes how well you kick. Like I said, it's really sometimes about timing and the situation you're in. But I remember, most of the time you're living out of a hotel, you have a roommate when you're first starting out. And I remember sitting on the curb of the hotel, or sitting outside on the curb in the hotel parking lot, calling my dad. And I'm just like, I don't know if I can do this anymore. I just don't understand what's going on. I just kicked 94% and I'm getting sent home for, I just don't understand it. And he just, that's why you have parents. And they, picked me up and kept going, but it's tough, like what Casey said, it just puts a lot of doubt in your mind. Are you good enough? And it's just like, what do I have to do? Go 100% every day to get a spot in the NFL? And obviously, pretty much, honestly, as a young guy, as a rookie, you pretty much do. You really don't have much room for error. And Casey can attest to that with Atlanta. It's almost like you got to be perfect. And I was darn near perfect in that camp. But you just got to keep plugging away, and you talk to your agent and realize that, hey, kick well here, it should open up other doors there. And obviously it did. Tampa saw some, Tampa saw some ability that I had. And I think that same year I ended up kicking 350 yarders in one game against Miami, which was pretty cool. So I got him back. So it was good.
Yeah.
But
as a
Bill
Bucs
Parcells,
fan,
I think Bill Parcells was, kind of helping out down there in Miami at the time. And he did bring me aside and he was like, man, you know what? It's not going to work out here, but you do remind me of a guy named Adam Vinatieri who's kicking in the league. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. So that kind of gave me some encouragement and was like, all right, well, if he's going to compare me to him, that guy's obviously the best ever. Ever kick. He's the GOAT. And so that was pretty cool. Gave me a little bit of hope that, I can kick in this league. And so Tampa saw some potential and, my agent just,
look,
hey,
as a Bucs fan,
he's a Tampa fan.
After you left, Tampa has not had a kicker worth a crap until Suck Up and Pinion showed up this year, who happened to be,
don't
some
get
of
me,
Warner's guys.
oh man, don't get me started on Tampa. Oh man, Woo, that was my Super Bowl.
We can have that discussion offline a little bit later because I'd love to hear some of those.
Oh man,
that is and what you guys both were talking about, what gets me about watching, and I'm not a huge pro sports fan. I watch it, and obviously we pay attention to Carolina Panthers and whatever, but to hear fans say, you suck, or, you missed a kick, you suck, you threw an interception, you suck. I'm like, these dudes are like the best top 32 guys in the world doing this. Suck is relative, I guess. But you mentioned
I want to go to their job and say, "Hey, man, you suck."
Yeah, you broke a pen. You misspelled a word. You suck, teacher. Or something like that. But
you can't do
that. Pack your stuff. You're out of here after the bell.
Yeah, really, you're fired, man. You missed an assignment. You're out. So let me ask you both this, and I'll turn it over to Joey and get out of the way. Tougher kick. 32-yarder with some crosswind or a 55-yarder straight on? Connor first.
So no wind with the 55-yarder?
No wind.
Oh man. If it's
but it's not on turf, you're on grass.
You're on grass. Well, if you're in Soldier Field, good luck for anything.
That's concrete.
Yeah, good luck. It's like kicking out of at Wrightsville Beach right here. It looks great on TV, but it's just straight sand. Don't ever let them fool you. They should go to field turf. Come on, Soldier Field. Come on, Bears.
Like painted dirt.
Yeah, it's painted green. It looks great. Sorry, I got tracked there, but no, I hate right to left wind is like my nemesis for a kicker. I guess as a right-footed kicker, I can't hit the ball straight for my life. So 32-yarder with a right to left crosswind, I hate that kick. I would rather kick a 55-yarder all day long, straight on, all day long.
Casey, what's up?
I had all day long. Yeah, not even a contest.
I think I'd have to take the shorter one, to be honest with you. I'll take the bread butter, a little bit of wind. You just gotta knock it through.
I love he makes it sound so simple. Play the wind, knock it through. see the ball up and down and around in a circle.
When they moved that extra point back, man, I had a lot of those 33 yards in Soldier Field with those crosswinds, those extra points. And I'm like, can we just stop scoring so much on the kick anymore?
Go for two.
Can I
Go
at
for
least
two,
kick
man.
field goals that are, can I actually kick these that are actually worth 3 points, not just one? Because this is tough.
That kind of changed the game, didn't it? The moving it back.
Well, Bill
Had to.
Parcells, he kicked himself in the butt for that one because it costed him, I think, early on when he was like one of the big proprietors for like changing it to that. And I think his kicker missed a couple early on, but no, that was a game changer. It used to be like walk out, like it's like clockwork. You don't even, but now it's like, you know, if you get an interception or if the defense gets an interception and scores really quick, I mean, holy moly, you're on there with no warm-ups and you got to kick a 33-yarder. I mean, makes you think a little more. It's different. Yeah. It's definitely changed. It's no longer like an easy it's not a gimme anymore. That's for sure.
But when they were the old way, it was just like, what's the point? Just throw a point up there.
I was, I think 8 years straight without missing in the NFL until I never missed one until they changed it.
Oh, Joey, I was going to let you go. Hold on. I got one question based off that. Connor, how many extra points you missed in college?
Man, do you have the stat in front of you?
I do.
Dude.
That's such a loaded question.
And these are 20-yard extra points.
I missed one my freshman year against Virginia, and I missed one my senior year against James Madison.
Man, you're an ass for that, Tommy.
103 for 109, according to this.
No, was I really?
It said, makes sense. And I assume this is accurate.
And you charging him with blocks too? Or blocks his fault?
You know what? Okay, so what? Blocks do count against me.
That's right.
I had 2 blocked against me at Notre Dame. Yeah,
that's right.
I was at that game at Notre Dame.
I learned something new tonight. I didn't realize that counted against kickers.
Because I was like, I swear I only missed 2, but then if I look, I got 2 blocked against Notre Dame. Their D line was absolute. We had to actually move. Usually you're about 7 and a foot in college from like this, from your snapper, and then in the NFL you're 8 yards. We actually had to try to move it back to 8 yards just to give us just a little bit more room.
Wow.
Because
that was the Joe Daly Hakeem Nicks show, wasn't it?
Their D line was blowing us up for some reason. I think we had some injuries on the offensive line, and I think they just.
We also had was that the roughing the snapper call?
No. That was later. That was Weiss.
Okay. But yeah, because I was like, I missed that many.
I'm looking at the stats, and it could be wrong, but it's got
change that stat, man.
We got to file an appeal.
We got to change that rule, man. Because I remember I had like 38 straight under 40 in the NFL, and then the guy from Oakland blocked one, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. That's how my streak's gonna
I mean,
end.
Your backside protection whiffs on a guy. That should not be hung around your neck, right? Like that should not go on your record.
Casey, same question. How many extra points you miss at Carolina? Listen to this, Connor.
I think I know it.
I think just one, right?
Yeah. And I guarantee you know the one, don't you?
Oh yeah, Citadel.
Citadel, come on, man! What was the score of that game?
I cranked it off the upright. I hit the upright so hard.
Were you tired from kicking so many extra points?
I think so. I was just like, let me just pop this one in and just score.
Was that the one where you had 9 in a game? What was it? You had 9 in a game. I remember that.
160 for 161, by the way. I'm gonna look it up.
For some reason, I thought you were 100%, Casey. That's
disappointing, man. You were only 99.99.
Tommy's got to be the one to point out the poop in the ice cream. So
I was just going. Hold on a second. I'm gonna look up the Citadel game. Bear with me, Joey.
I don't know about that Johnson County internet you're on either.
You know what's crazy is the headline of the Citadel game is UNC blasts the Citadel behind 375 yards of total offense. How times have changed. Right?
Well, really? If you ain't getting 375 in the first half now, you're doing something wrong.
That's an average.
40-6, man. You messed up my cover. I think the line was 35, and
yeah, I'm sure a lot of people were upset about that.
Tommy's kid can't go to a private school because he had UNC minus 30, 34 and a half.
Go ahead, Joe. So, get it back on the rails.
Yeah, we'll try. All right, guys. Before we get into me playing Wink Martindale and closing us with a nice little game of who's the better brother, I want to give you guys a chance to plug what you're up to now. Casey, what are you doing right now, man? What's happening in Wilmington?
Yeah, so right now I actually work for a clinical research company called Syneos Health.
and we run clinical trials for the pharma companies, and I manage a team of 3 contract leads. So it's really cool. I kind of get that team aspect again, and we were involved in some COVID trials, last year and throughout this year. So kind of a cool job, and it's been great so far.
And Connor, you said something about like you're swimming with sharks or you're chasing sharks or I don't know, something like that. What's
I
what's
do.
the
I'm invested in it's a local vodka company called Blue Shark Vodka, and we always say it's the shark that doesn't bite. So I have no problem swimming with those sharks because the blue sharks are very docile. But yeah, so I went to a beach bar last year and I tried this. Someone told me to try this local vodka, and I tried it. My buddy and I, and we were just blown away. And the owner and I have a lot of mutual friends, and we had been told we needed to meet, and we connected, and I kind of fell in love with the mission of the company and what they do and how good the vodka was, being locally sourced. And all our corn, our Sweet Carolina corn, comes from Polkton, North Carolina. Everything's local, locally made and everything like that. So it's really cool. And so I'm helping them kind of expand now. We're kicking butt. We're in all 100 counties in North Carolina and all the ABC stores, and we're also in Las Vegas. So we're winning a bunch of awards and continuing to try to expand. So we'll see where it takes us. But I'm pumped about it.
love the
Do you have a bottle? Is it the bottle? Does it have it in the bottle?
So we actually have 3 bottles. So our original bottle is like a blown glass bottle with the shark inside of it. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
I've seen it.
it's very very aesthetically pleasing. Yes.
I have to plug one thing, being like a local Wilmington guy. So we went in our last awards, we just won for our actual series of bottles. We got best in class, which is the highest honor you can get in the awards competition. We actually beat out Michael Jordan's new tequila. So that's pretty cool. And he's a Wilmington guy. So you don't beat Michael
Man.
Jordan. He is Centauro tequila, and actually our bottle series actually got a platinum. We best in class, which is actually higher than platinum. So I was like, that's pretty cool because we're both Wilmington guys. So it's kind of
man.
cool.
Absolutely.
You guys can go out and have like a bottle bashed bottle stab fight on East.
I would wager that Jordan's tequila is a little more expensive.
Yes, it's absolutely phenomenal.
I do want to give a shout out to, I think the Blue Shark tagging programs you guys have in conjunction with the vodka is a really cool concept. So
we're actually, the owner's he's flying up tomorrow. We're gonna start this whole, we're tagging a blue or 2 starting up off the coast of Maine, starting on Friday, do some stuff with the Atlantic Shark Institute, and it's gonna be pretty cool. So it's the first time I think that they've tagged female blue sharks, and we're gonna kind of follow their pattern, their migratory pattern down the East Coast, which is gonna be cool.
Man, that's awesome. Well, I'll tell you what. Yeah,
we need to talk offline.
Whenever you guys need to get back out to tag some sharks, or if you need to head back out to Vegas for any sort of like checking up on your product out there, Tommy and Casey and I are happy to port your luggage if we need to. All right. Well, I do want to put a bow on this because I've kept you guys way over time, and honestly, it's been because you guys have been great storytellers and have been really, really good guests here. But I told you before we started today, I'm gonna try to get my game show host on. And I'm going to let you both play this. I don't know that there's a right answer. If I had some cheesy, game show music, I'd play it here. But Tommy, I'll even let you throw out a category later if you want to. But we're going to play Who's the Better Brother. All right. So I'm going to start first.
He's sitting right, but he's right there, man.
Look, I'm going to have them. I'm going to have them both, pitting against each other for at least the next little bit. All right. Who is the better passer of the football? Who's got a better gun, Casey or Connor?
Casey can sling it, man. I don't know. He's got a sneaky good arm.
All right.
I could throw up there mountain over there.
Casey's got the Uncle Rico going on. All right. I can respect that.
I gotta give it to Casey on that one.
All right. Who's the better surfer?
Oh, me. It's not
definitely Connor.
Longboard or short?
I actually do a lot of paddle surfing now. I'm scared to put my limbs in the water. I don't know why. It's something about
sharks, because you've been
as
playing
I get
too many
older
blue
these
sharks.
days, I really appreciate my body and my limbs, and I'm like, you know what? If I keep my body, if I'm already standing up on the board, that's a lot. I got a lot better chance to make it out. So no, I'm trying to get Casey out more, but I'd have a little more free time than he does. So
All right, who's the better cook between you two?
I don't know. I mean,
he's the married man. He's got to be the better cook.
I probably cook a little more than Connor, but I'm not a great cookie.
So, all right. So what's your go-to? If you have to cook, what's your go-to, Casey?
What's my go-to? Man, to be honest with you, my go-to for a long time was just baked chicken and veggies. Just keep it simple.
Hey, keep it simple, keep it healthy. You live longer. That's you're not putting your limbs in the water with baked chicken and veggies. I appreciate that.
Single guy, I've relied on DoorDash. I don't want to put a plug for
There you go.
I just actually ordered DoorDash just delivered to my house like 5 minutes ago, a salad, because I'm trying to, at 35, you talk about the 40 club, and I'm getting there.
Man, you suck. 35, I'd trick God.
Tommy, you want to throw out a category before we wrap?
Well, look, Orner responded to me and said, I'm on the field in Iowa. I need a minute. So we won't get any Orner questions. Let's go best kicker. Who's the better kicker?
Connor. 100%.
I mean,
and he knows it.
Hey, listen, I will say from like a God-given ability, maybe I have a little more of that, but like, hey, from like a just taking what he's got and he's working with what he's got, man. Casey, man, I don't know. I can't say enough, man. He kicked my butt and broke all my records. I don't know. It sounds like Casey has to be the better kicker, right? Because he broke all my records. So.
All right. Well, that's a strong way to wrap it with some brotherly love. Pardon the pun. I will ask you guys. Last question. This is a good one to go out on. What do you guys think about Mac Brown being back in Chapel Hill, and how do you think that's going to play? Casey, I'll go to you first.
I think just excitement is the first word that comes to mind. Just kind of even just hearing him speak. You just feel that energy and feel like the program is just back, and that culture, that winning culture, is just back. So it's super exciting.
Well, Connor, I'll ask you the same thing, and then I'll let Tommy pull the string on this one.
No, I think he brings just a ton of credibility to the program. I mean, gosh, my buddies and I always talk. I wish I could play right now. I mean, just the facility changes and what he's done. When you walk in, it looks like the way Carolina football should be. I mean, it looks like a national program that should be a top 10 program. And the recruiting's amazing. You're only seeing. I always said it. We should only have like 5-star guys walking around our campus and stuff like that. So he's bringing that culture, and it's fantastic. And I have a lot of bets with a lot of friends in the SEC that we're going to have a different year this year. And against a lot of Georgia fans, and I know they're going to be good too. So Sam, come on, man, we need some wins this year, baby. I need to win some money.
Let me ask, being former guys.
Oh, they're still guys, Tommy, but I mean, just,
former players that are still dudes. Man, I ain't gonna lie now. Living in Wilmington.
They got it. They got it tough, don't they?
Wilmington,
they got it rough.
Do you need a roommate, brother? So let me ask, how is it to know what you went through? And I'm trying to get serious for a minute. It's tough. I don't do it often, but I'll start with you, Connor. Knowing what you went through at Carolina, I mean, you guys had some great memories, but you also had some rough memories. What was that like? And then looking now and seeing where they are now, you mentioned wishing you could play now. I mean, everybody has their life stories, and they all build. It's all a building block to what currently is. But just sort of tell us, to wrap your portion of this on being a Carolina guy, being a part of some good times, some rough times, and seeing where this program is now. I mean, where are you at? I mean, you've seen the highs, you've seen the lows.
Yeah, I mean, it's it was definitely tough. I mean, we come into my freshman year. I mean, we work our butts. I mean, we're it's football 24/7. Obviously, we're in the classroom as well. But like, I always remember. There was a pasta place on Franklin Street. I can't remember.
Franklin Street Pizza and Pasta.
Yeah, that's the easiest thing. I don't know why.
Look, I'm a fat guy. You're not going to get any pasta questions past the fat kid.
So, I'll never get this out of my head, and I can't. It makes me so upset because, we weren't very good when I was. We weren't great when I was there. We had some good wins, but like, it'd always be like October, and I would be sitting there eating, and I'd hear just these students be like, "Oh man, it's almost basketball season." Like,
I was like, forget you, man.
I don't even want to.
Sitting right here, guys.
No, I was like, you got to be. I'm just every time, I'm just like, and then we'd be playing a game during the game, and like obviously this is when you could still kind of walk around the edges, and you could still walk down there, and you would be like a timeout or something. You're just like, why is the stadium cheering right now? And it's because the basketball team's walking in, and it's just, I can't stand it. You know what I love right now is no one cares about basketball. They just care about football, and it's the most amazing thing I've ever. I'm sorry, but like. I don't hate the basketball team, but God, it feels good to know we're a football school again. Let's go, baby.
Casey, you were there. There was a little bit of transition when you were at Carolina. I mean, walk us through that process and then what you see it as now. Because let me tell you, when Carolina, Buck Sanders and I, we did a podcast after Carolina lost to East Carolina. I guess it's been 4 years ago now.
And got throttled by East Carolina. Yes.
I mean, they got waxed. Yes.
Yep.
I
And
was in the stands for that. It was
skull dragging. Yes.
I was dating an East Carolina girl. It was rough.
yeah, I probably wouldn't have lived in those stands, but we were like, it's time to move on. You got to do something, and and why not Mac Brown? And so here we are. I guess we're recording this on July 16th. 2021.
July 15th when we started. Yeah.
Yeah, really. Hey, it's been fun. But Casey, I mean, the journey you had and to go from the transitions that you saw, I mean, tell us about it to wrap this one.
Yeah, it was interesting. I mean, when Butch was there for those, I think it was, 3 seasons. I mean, we were solid. I mean, we had some serious players. I mean, we knew, and everyone knew how good we were and how we could be. And, when kind of the violations, everything kind of started looming over and we started kind of losing guys. I mean, it was hard just because, we didn't know what was going to happen. I mean, I think it was the preseason before, the season started and we just heard that Butch was gone and we just, we were like, what's going on? that
and everybody else, man.
And so, Coach Withers was the interim head coach, and that year was a little, it was different. It was kind of like limbo, no one really knew what was going to happen. So it was interesting. And then obviously when Coach Fedora came in my senior year and just kind of got that culture back on track and kind of got everyone back on track. So it was an interesting ride for sure. But, it was, I think it brought a lot of the guys closer together, just kind of going through that. And, we all have great relationships still and just kind of, tell stories about all the crazy times and especially that just transition. But just kind of seeing Mac in there now, it feels like how it was when I was there with Coach Davis, where we got these big time recruits.
Yeah.
The team knows, they know they're good and they just got to bring that on the field and get those wins. So it's exciting.
All right, dudes. I lied. I said that was my last question. Let me ask you this. We'll talk forever.
What
Connor,
time y'all got to be at work tomorrow?
Yeah, really. No, look, y'all wanted to record early. If you'd have waited a little while, I'd have been asleep already. Connor,
I'm already tired, so we're good. I got all day.
Best. Well, I'll start with Casey, and Casey, because he's the one that's got to work. Casey, best player you ever played with, ever. Period.
I got to give it to my boy Jonathan Cooper, my roommate from Wilmington. He's one of the most athletic, the smartest, just best players I've ever seen, and I think I'll ever see. And he just had a rough bout with injuries in the NFL, but he's the real deal.
We did we did 2010 reunion, and we should have had you on there, but we had Coop and a bunch of those guys, and he's the one that it's injuries, and we talked about luck and timing and all that stuff. He's the one. That dude was a monster.
Yeah, unbelievable.
He'd be outrunning Gio to lead the blocking, and it's like it never worked out for him because he could not catch a break. It's crazy how that does. Connor, best player ever.
College or pros?
Either. Well, you can do both.
All right. So college, honestly, so like from like.
You don't have to say Chacos. It's okay. You don't have to see it.
I didn't say oldest ever.
Man, I don't know, for some reason, but I know he didn't play a long time. But Darius Bowman, do y'all remember Darius?
Oh yeah,
That guy was
athletic
probably,
freak.
Are you? I mean, I mean, it's just his athletic ability was just. I mean, it was insane. So I would probably say from college that, and then the NFL. Man, that's so tough. I played with so many amazing players and athletes. I'd have to probably say, I hate to say it, but I mean, Peyton Manning when I played in Denver, I mean, I hadn't played on a team yet with that kind of leadership and stuff. And there's a reason why he is who he is. I mean, the guy was always the first one to practice. I mean, it's, it's kind of sounds cliche, but he pretty much ran everything. I mean, Coach Fox kind of was back there and Peyton ran practice. I mean, just to see the kind of person he is and just to watch him. And he was just super cool. I got there in November that year and he didn't even know me. And he came up to me after practice. He's like, hey man, you don't have anywhere to go for Thanksgiving, man, you're welcome at our house. So that's just, that's cool to me. And that's just what a leader does. And for him, and obviously first ballot Hall of Famer. And so I'd have to say Peyton for sure.
That's pretty cool. I don't think people realize, and you mentioned Peyton, you mentioned Tom Brady earlier. We've talked about Michael Jordan. I don't think people realize just what it takes to do what these folks do to be the best ever. But the leadership is by far the main thing. All right. Joey has some interesting questions. I got some. Casey, biggest misconception about kickers? Because Dan said that when he got to Carolina, they were jacked because they did all the stuff. And he said, they had the most jacked specialist group of any college out there. What's the biggest misconception about a kicker?
I think personally the biggest misconception is that kickers aren't athletic. I mean, every kicker I know can play every sport and is so good at every sport. Like Connor won't tell you, but Connor can literally play any sport and he's so good at it. It makes me so mad. And
is he one of those tryhards out there? He's still on the beach, like land balling and spike balling and killing people.
My recent pickup in my recent sport is pickleball.
Oh yeah.
And I plan to be sponsored eventually, so I am going to get good because I can play that into my 40s and 50s, and I plan on. I'm taking the nation by storm in pickleball.
All right.
We talked to Michael Brooker, basketball player, and he was on the shelf because he blew a knee playing pickleball. So you need to watch out. Connor, same question, and then we'll let you guys get out of here. What's the biggest misconception? Because I think, to be honest with you, if I look back, we've always thought everybody thinks kickers are different and they're weird or they're surfer dudes. And you might have started that. You might have helped with that. Is it a misconception or is it reality?
No, Casey kind of took, obviously I think is being athletic. I think we're actually very athletic. Coach Connors actually used me in some videos towards the end of my career when he barely talked to me when I was first. He's our strength coach, Bob. He was the strength coach. Just for if people don't know, he was our strength coach. He did not like kickers when I was there, but all of a sudden he's like, hey man, can you come run these ladder drills for us so I can get this on tape? And I'm like, what changed, coach?
You know who I am? Right. Okay.
I think it's, the misconception is that, we kind of are we're kind of on our own. We're not, it's not because we don't want to be part of the team, which we are. It's just, we're kind of with the punters and the snappers. We're just not involved as much. So I think people just kind of see us as these weirdos that are just over there. Who decided when they were growing up they wanted to be a kicker? Quarterback or what? Because kickers are awesome. And you know what? The misconceptions we have. We are the most mentally strong position group ever. Come on, no one wants to be us when it's game time. Everyone wants to be us in practice because we do take a knee and we play golf. Okay, we do that. 100% say when I was in the NFL at Tampa, I spent a lot of times at Starbucks because I didn't have to go to all those meetings, and I'm glad I never had to go to those meetings. I would go meet some ladies at Starbucks during the 3-hour position meetings. That's what I did. I'm going to be honest with you. That's what I did. But you know what? I went out during the games and I made my kicks. So it's I think misconceptions. We are one mentally tough group of guys, man. The kicking position, we are mentally tough, man. You got to be tough to play our position. Maybe not physically, but mentally, very, very tough.
Well, we will. If nothing
I got
else,
a TikTok. I got a Starbucks TikTok. I need to send you. I need to get your number. I'll send it to you.
Okay, I like to keep things light, man. That's what I am. Like,
This is a great one. Then I promise you'll laugh.
I ain't even joking. I've spent so many hours in Starbucks. It's hilarious. It's so great. It's so great.
I'm absolutely floored now that now we're swapping TikTok videos, and I will say that you guys have proven, if nothing else, that the old Adam Sandler lonely kicker bit is probably a bit tired and probably a bit played. So an hour and a half in, I will say it's been worth it because we had double the guests. So I guess it's worth it to have double the length of the pod. But you guys have been amazing. We appreciate y'all being so honest and spending so much time with us. Casey had to eject. I appreciate him sticking around. But I'm thankful.
Oh, we just got Connor. We can keep going.
Man, let's go. Let's have some fun. Let's get
Yeah, really.
You
Let's,
want me to start talking trash now about Casey? I'm just kidding.
But we appreciate you guys and
Man,
appreciate
Casey rode your coattails forever, man. Don't lie.
Wow.
Hey, listen, I will to this day say that, man. Every time I get a chance to praise Casey, man, that's my brother, and I wouldn't have wanted to. I would love to have just done. I would not want to come behind me and kick him.
Well, we are indebted to Casey.
Joey's trying to get it on the rails, man. We're in the same place.
We're indebted to Casey and to Casey's big brother for being on the show today. But I appreciate you guys joining us. I appreciate the listeners and viewers out there. I want to say a special thanks to Johnny T-Shirt, to Jimmy's Famous Seafood, to John Sigley for producing, for Connor and Casey Barth in beautiful Wilmington, North Carolina. That's in New Hanover County, if you're curious. And for Tommy Ashley, I am just Joey Powell. This has been another episode of the 40 Club. We have been kicking it. I appreciate you guys joining us, tuning in, listening. We'll catch you next time down the road on InsideCarolina.com. Late.